Okay, so, wow, you really threw us for a loop with this listener request.
Yeah.
Human development across the lifespan.
I know, right?
Talk about a deep dive.
It's a big one.
It is.
Phew.
We're cracking open excerpts from a university course on this very subject.
Buckle up.
Yeah, and honestly,
It is dense.
it is. It's a lot.
But don't worry.
Really dense.
We're here to distill it down.
Yeah.
Extract those golden nuggets.
Absolutely.
The aha moments.
Yes.
The stuff that makes you go, wait, really?
And you know what's so amazing is how relevant this is for everyone.
Oh, totally.
Like whether you're raising kids,
For sure.
trying to understand your own journey, or honestly just curious about what makes people tick.
Right.
This stuff is universal.
Yeah. I mean, we've all stood there staring at those developmental milestone charts. Oh, tell me about it.
You're like, is my baby late to walk?
Yeah.
Are these teenage mood swings normal? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. And that's just scratching the surface.
Oh, really?
The source material goes way beyond just like the physical growth.
Okay.
We're talking biological, cognitive, social.
Wow.
This whole like symphony of changes from our first breath to our twilight years.
Okay, so it's more than just like learning to walk and talk.
Oh, way more.
What does that even look like then?
So think about it this way.
Okay.
Learning language isn't just about memorizing words.
Right.
It literally changes how we think, how we relate to others, even how we see the world.
That's huge.
Right.
It's like this cascade.
Exactly.
That's development in action.
Constant interplay.
So it's not just kids who are developing.
Absolutely not.
Wow.
It's a lifelong journey.
Interesting.
Because remember, development is about change.
Right.
And we never stop changing.
That's true.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
The source material talks about how newborns
What?
have this reflex where they can like walk.
Look,
If you hold them upright, then they lose it completely. Only to relearn walking months later.
Wait, seriously?
I know, it's wild.
They can kind of already walk from birth.
It's like a little sneak peek.
And then they just forget.
They do.
And then have to start all over.
It seems so counterintuitive, right?
Totally.
Like, why bother? But
Yeah.
it really highlights how development isn't this straight line.
Okay.
Like, our brains are pre-wired for some things. But then experience shapes how those things actually play out.
Yeah.
It's this delicate dance between nature and nurture.
Oh, so that takes us right to it then.
The age-old question.
Which one is it?
Right.
Genes or upbringing?
Yeah.
Are we born a certain way or do we become who we are?
The million-dollar question, right?
I know.
And for centuries,
Okay.
scientists have debated
Oh, sure.
whether it's nature or nurture that
Yeah.
holds more sway.
Mm-hmm.
But what our source material makes abundantly clear
Okay, tell us.
is that it's not this either or.
Oh, really?
It's not black or white.
Okay.
It's always both.
Wow.
Interwoven in these incredibly complex ways.
So it's not like one or the other,
Yeah.
like this recipe,
Yeah.
you need the right ingredients,
Uh-huh.
but the way you combine them,
Right.
the environment you're cooking in,
It all matters.
that all matters too.
Precisely.
Okay.
So like take puberty, for instance.
Okay. Puberty.
It's like this clockwork thing.
Right. It's biological.
Biologically driven.
Yeah.
Key stage in development.
Okay.
But did you know
What?
that factors like nutrition
Yeah.
can actually influence its timing?
No kidding.
I know. It's wild.
So even these biological milestones
Yeah.
aren't set in stone.
No.
Our environment
Like literally.
can actually nudge them around a bit.
Precisely. And this brings us to
That's
two
humans.
crucial concepts
Hit me.
that the source material really digs into.
Okay.
Continuity versus discontinuity,
Okay.
and stability versus change.
Right. Those sound
I know. A little academic,
a little academic.
a little jargony.
Yeah. Break it down for us.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So think of it this way.
Okay.
Continuity. Like a tree growing taller.
Okay.
Like gradual, smooth progress.
I like it.
Right.
Okay.
Discontinuity.
Yeah.
More like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
Okay.
These distinct stages with big shifts.
Okay. Got it.
You see the difference?
I'm seeing it.
Okay.
So that walking reflex we talked about,
Yes.
that's an example of discontinuity.
Exactly.
We're not just getting better at walking over time.
Nope.
Our brains are actually like changing how they handle movement.
It's like rewiring the whole system.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, so that's discontinuity.
That's discontinuity at play.
Wow.
Now,
Oh.
stability versus change.
Okay.
This gets at something even deeper.
Ooh, tell me more.
Our sense of self.
Okay.
Who are we? Do our core traits remain pretty consistent throughout life?
Okay.
Or can we fundamentally change who we are?
That's a really good question.
It is a big one.
It is.
And that question underpins a lot of how we view ourselves and our potential.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how much can we really change?
Right, like, are we stuck with this?
Right.
Or can we actually, like, become someone totally different?
Exactly.
That's a big one.
It is a big one.
And I bet the answer is way more nuanced.
Oh, absolutely.
Way more.
Right. It's not a simple answer.
Right, and it's probably different for everybody, too.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So much to think about already.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, Grant.
Just getting started.
Oh, boy.
But it's good stuff.
It is interesting.
It's fascinating.
It is. It's fascinating stuff.
Okay, so you ready to dive into some of those stages?
I guess so.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about how development is this, like, mix of nature and nurture.
Yeah, it's this intricate dance.
Right. And it's not linear.
No, not at all.
There are these jumps and these leaps.
Exactly.
But what about the actual, like, stages we go
Right,
through?
like the roadmap.
Yeah.
So that's where those milestones come in.
Okay, like crawling and talking.
Yeah, all the classics.
Yeah.
Crawling, talking, the infamous teenage years.
Oh, boy.
Our source material really digs into those periods.
Okay, so childhood, adolescence, adulthood,
The whole shebang.
the whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
And, I mean, each stage has got to have its own challenges, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we've all cringed at those terrible twos tantrums.
Oh, yeah.
Or felt the sting of, like, a teenage heartbreak.
For sure.
Right.
Each stage has its own unique hurdles.
Yeah.
Not just for the person going through it,
Right.
but for everyone around them, too.
Totally.
And you know, one thing I found super interesting
Okay, tell me.
was this term they used, sensitive periods.
Sensitive periods.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So basically, there are these windows of time
Okay.
when a child is like primed
Primed for what?
to learn certain things.
Okay.
Like language,
Mhm.
social skills.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, if they miss that window,
Yeah.
it can be way harder to catch up.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the brain is like
Ready to soak it all in
exactly.
during that time.
It's primed for it.
Wow.
and
yeah.
then-
So it's not just about letting kids develop at their own pace then.
Right, it's not just like a free-for-all.
Right.
It's more nuanced than that.
So there is an element of, like, seize the moment.
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to say pressure.
No, of course not.
It's not about that.
Right.
It's more about understanding those periods
Okay.
and providing the right support and stimulation.
Okay. So you got to set them up for success
Exactly.
during those critical times.
Yes.
Okay. So knowing what we know about these stages and these sensitive periods,
Yeah.
how much stock should we really put in those, like, developmental milestone charts? You know, the ones that say a baby should be walking by 12 months or talking by 2?
The bane of every parent's existence.
I know, right?
They cause so much anxiety.
They really do.
But here's the thing. Tell me.
Milestones are useful,
Okay.
but as general guidelines,
Yeah.
our source material really stresses
Yeah.
that there's huge variation
Between kids.
between individuals.
Right.
Some kids are just early bloomers.
Sure.
Some take their sweet time.
Yeah.
And guess what?
What?
They often turn out just fine.
Okay.
It's not a guarantee,
Right.
but it's not a life sentence if they're not hitting everything right on schedule.
Okay, so it's less about hitting those milestones like exactly on time.
Yes,
And more about the overall trajectory.
precisely.
Okay.
Like, are they progressing?
Yeah.
Are they learning? Are they developing new skills?
Right.
It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned with some chart.
That's a relief to hear.
I know those charts can be intimidating.
They really can be.
And honestly,
Focusing too much on them just creates stress.
for everybody,
For parents, for kids.
nobody needs that.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about the challenges specific to each stage?
Right.
You mentioned hazards.
Yes, each period has its own set of potential pitfalls.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
Give me the rundown. So in childhood,
Yeah.
it's about laying those foundational skills.
Okay, like what?
Language,
Mm-hmm.
social emotional development,
Mm-hmm.
physical coordination,
Okay.
all that good stuff.
Right.
So a supportive and stimulating environment is key.
It's got to have that strong foundation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then adolescence hits.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right. And suddenly it's a whole new ballgame.
What happens?
Identity formation,
Okay.
peer pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and those roller coaster emotions.
Oh, yeah, the emotions.
Fueled by hormones.
Right.
It's a wild ride.
Don't forget the risk-taking.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Didn't the source material talk about how the teenage brain is, like, wired for thrills?
Yes, it did.
Like, they're looking for that excitement?
They are.
Okay.
So basically, the prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
which is like the CEO of the brain,
Right.
in charge of impulse control,
Uh-huh.
long-term planning,
Okay.
it's still under construction
Oh, no.
during adolescence.
So it's like,
Not quite open for business yet.
right, the lights are on, but nobody's home?
Exactly.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the reward centers of the brain,
Yeah.
those are on overdrive.
Really?
Like super active,
Yep.
which kind of explains.
Why they do what they do.
Exactly.
Right. That makes sense.
So you get those impulsive, sometimes risky behaviors.
That make teenagers teenagers.
Exactly.
Right. So it's their job to take risks.
It's how they learn and grow.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
It's not always easy for everyone around them,
No kidding.
but it's a necessary part of development.
Okay. So we've covered childhood, adolescence. What about adulthood?
Ah, yes, adulthood.
When we're supposed to have it all figured out.
Right. Well, here's the thing.
What?
We never really start developing.
We don't.
Even as adults.
No way.
Our relationships, our careers, our sense of self,
Okay.
it all continues to evolve.
I guess that makes sense.
And with each phase of adulthood,
Yeah.
early, middle, later,
Yeah.
come new challenges.
Like what kind of challenges?
So early adulthood
Oh,
often revolves around forming intimate relationships,
okay.
establishing careers,
Yeah.
navigating that transition to independence.
Right. Like finding your own way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Middle adulthood
Yeah.
might bring about questions of purpose,
Midlife crisis?
maybe
Yeah.
career changes,
Rah.
the joys and challenges of raising a family,
Oh.
and, starting to come to terms with your own mortality.
That's a big one.
It is a big one.
Yeah.
And then there's later adulthood,
Okay.
where we might be facing retirement,
Yeah.
potential health issues,
Mhm.
the loss of loved ones,
Right.
and that need to find meaning and fulfillment
Okay.
in a new phase of life. So as you can see,
Yeah.
adulthood is no walk in the park either.
No, it's not all downhill from here.
Not necessarily, just
Yeah.
a different set of peaks and valleys.
I like that. Different peaks and valleys.
It's all part of this journey.
This lifelong journey of development.
Wow, who knew we had so much to look forward to?
Right. Wow.
Wow, okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We really have.
But you know what I'm really curious about?
What's that?
The source material mentions some, really surprising facts about development.
Oh, yeah, there were some good ones.
Yeah, what really jumped out at you?
So one of the things that really got me thinking was this idea
Okay.
that even though early experiences are super important.
Yeah, like those foundational years.
Exactly.
Okay.
Later experiences still really matter.
Really?
Like, we're not just products of our childhood.
So it's never too late
It's never too late.
to learn and grow
Exactly.
and even change
Oh, absolutely.
core parts of who we are.
That's the thing about the brain.
It's incredibly adaptable.
Okay.
There's this concept called plasticity.
Plasticity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it refers to the brain's ability to change
Okay.
and rewire itself
Really?
throughout life.
No kidding.
And that means we're capable of growth,
Wow.
even in adulthood.
That's really hopeful.
It is hopeful. It
Yeah.
means we're not stuck,
That's a good thing.
right?
I'm also thinking about those sensitive periods you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder,
What's that?
like, how much we can actually shape a child development
Right.
if those windows of opportunity are so crucial.
Yeah, it really highlights the importance of early intervention
Right.
if there are any delays or challenges.
So you got to catch those early.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's also about recognizing that stimulation and engagement are important
For kids.
for everyone.
Really?
And that the lifespan.
So it's not just about
Oh, they'll figure it out.
right, just let them play.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Active engagement matters.
Interesting how.
Interesting. For adults, too.
Okay, so what does that look like for adults?
So the source material talked about
Yeah.
how important it is for us to stay mentally and socially active,
Okay.
learning new things,
Yeah.
challenging our perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
staying connected with others.
So it's like use it or lose it,
Exactly.
but for our entire being.
For our minds, our bodies, our spirits.
Oh,
We got to keep those connections firing.
that's a good way to put it.
Right.
But you know what the biggest aha moment was for me?
Okay, what was it?
You touched on it earlier. The influence of culture on development.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It is a big one.
Huge.
Yeah, and I feel like we often don't even think about it.
It's like the water we swim in.
Right, exactly.
We don't even realize it's there.
So how does that actually play out?
So the source material gave this example
Okay.
about how different cultures view aging.
Yeah.
In some cultures,
Yeah.
getting older is revered.
Really?
Like it's associated with wisdom.
That makes sense.
Respect.
Yeah.
But in other cultures,
Uh-huh.
it's seen as a decline,
Oh, wow.
a burden.
Interesting.
And guess what?
What?
Those beliefs actually influence how people age.
So you're saying
Yeah.
that if you're constantly told that getting older is bad,
Yeah.
you're more likely to actually experience it that way.
Ex-
Whoa. That's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is.
That's
Our
wow.
culture is basically scripting our development.
Without us even realizing it.
Exactly.
And we just kind of go along with it.
We do.
That's crazy.
It makes you wonder,
It really does.
are those scripts serving us?
Right? Are they helping us?
Or are they holding us back?
That's a really good question.
It's something to think about.
It is, because we do have a lot of assumptions about age.
We do.
And a lot of those are shaped by these narratives.
By our culture.
Yeah, that we just kind of accept.
We inherit them.
Yeah. And it's not like we sit down and think about them critically.
Right.
So this has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Yes.
I feel like I've learned so much.
You too.
And I'm also kind of like, my mind is blown.
I know, right?
Right. Because it's not just about like the biology of it all.
No.
It's about all these other factors.
The psychology, the environment,
It-
it all plays a role.
It's like this big complex tapestry
Exactly.
that creates who we are.
And who we become.
Right, exactly.
And that brings us to our final thought
Okay.
for you, our listener.
Okay, hit us with it.
Given everything we've learned about human development,
Yeah.
what are you most curious to explore further?
In your own life.
What piques your interest now?
What aspect of yourself
Your growth, your journey.
you want to understand better?
Let those questions simmer.
Yeah, as we wrap up this deep dive,
Until next time.
keep those minds curious.
And those perspectives open.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of human development.
It's been a pleasure.